If you want a flagship phone with near-stock Android experience, good build, a very good camera, then go buy a Pixel. If you don't have the money for the Pixel, or if you want a more premium build phone made out of glass, check out the Oneplus 6 and the Sony XZ2. So let's see which one of them has the better camera in low light. Before we start, please make sure to subscribe to our channel so you can see more videos like this twice a week.
And check out our Facebook and Instagram pages, links down below. Let's get jiggy with it.
Let's start with the 4K samples from both phones, and we notice there is not much difference between the two. Image stabilization is almost the same, but OnePlus exposes slightly brighter. The downside is that with added brightness comes added noise, and color accuracy suffers a bit also. For 1080p the roles switch. This time Sony has the brighter image, and because of the noise reduction it washes out the entire scene, losing much of the detail. The 1080p low-light videos from the selfie cameras look bad, but if I have to choose one, I would definitely not choose the Sony, as it is way too dark to properly expose my face. On the first set of photos of the comparison, here is a picture of my desk in extreme low light. Right off the bat we notice Sony has the more natural colors and slightly a brighter exposure. OnePlus keeps the entire scene darker, but it seems that it has better dynamic range, as highlights are not as clipped as in the Sony photo. Just look at the two lamps and the monitor. Zooming in, we notice that Sony has more digital noise and even less details than the OnePlus. Second shot, a rose in a low-lit environment, and again Sony seems to have the better colors. The yellow color of the rose got too desaturated in the OnePlus photo. Detail and sharpness are better on the OnePlus though, as you can better notice the drops of water on the petals. But with added detail comes added noise, and Sony seems to do a better job in cleaning up the photo. Look at the plant in the OnePlus photo, it lacks any sort of detail or texture, making the leaves too plasticky and artificial. That's because OnePlus uses more than double of the ISO value of Sony, and with aggressive noise reduction, it loses very important fine detail. Sony has more noise, sure, but I prefer the noisier photo that looks more natural. In this scene, I use flash to see how each phone handles overexposure and highlight clipping when the object is heavily lit by artificial light. And OnePlus barely does the better job here, as the Sony seems to clip more of the white flowers. Noise is evident on both pictures, but colors seem better on the Sony. All in all, this is mostly nitpicking, as the two photos are very similar one to another. Another picture with flash, this time of my wife, and at first sight the pictures look almost the same, but taking a closer look the OnePlus photo seems to have more detail and sharpness overall. Sony again employs a more aggressive noise reduction, smudging of fine detail. Again, the differences are barely noticeable. If you look in the background, Sony seems to have less dynamic range overexposing the wall, but the brighter exposure helps the phone gather more information in the foreground. Colors are slightly warmer on the Sony, but it doesn't hurt the entire image. Zooming in, both phones resolve almost the same amount of details and have the same amount of noise. The next two sets of photos exhibit the same characteristics. Even if Oneplus constantly uses higher ISO value, its processing seems to do a better job cleaning up the noise, but retaining details. Sony has more noise and it also seems to clip the highlights more often than the Oneplus. Looking at this picture, there is not much difference between the two photos. Colors are the same, exposure is the same, dynamic range is the same. But zooming in, we see that this time Oneplus drops the ball when it comes to noise reduction, Sony doing a much better job cleaning up the photo. And you will see the same in the next 4 sets of pictures. Sony again doing a better job with noise reduction, retaining more details at no expense of noise. Closing the comparison with two selfie sets, the first one using screen flash, the second one without screen flash. In both cases, Sony does a better job with exposure and colors, but Oneplus has the better details and sharpness. I am not a selfie addict, so I cannot say that I definitely pick up one over the other, but I will pick colors over detail, and that means I will pick Sony for selfies this time. To conclude, as you have seen from this test, there is not much difference between the two phones, both doing a great job in low light, not the best but definitely worth the attention. And there was no pattern developing either, sometimes Sony did a better job in details and sharpness, sometimes Oneplus did a better job. Colors were also inconsistent, sometimes Oneplus had the better colors, sometimes Sony did. Either phone you choose, you can't go wrong, and I myself will be too picky to choose a winner between the two in low light.
So guys, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed our video, like it, share it, and see you soon. Bye now.